Two words: instant classic NCAA 14. That's what we got here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we got in the Miami Ole Miss football game. My reaction 15 minutes after this game is finished. Welcome into the show. If you are new here, subscribe down below and then follow at Ian Fritts on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram as well. Everybody, what a football game. 4 or 5 lead changes in the last 8 minutes of that game. Back and forth, tug of war. Awesome stuff on display. Some bad football, some really, really quality football. Was there a pass interference on the last play of the game? I don't know. Maybe you could call it, maybe you don't. I'm fine either way because I'm not cheering for either of these teams. If I was a Miami fan, it's a great no call. If I'm an Ole Miss fan, it's the worst no call in the history of your sports fandom. But either way, we got a great game out of it as a non-biased fan. Awesome college football game. That is why we need the 12-team playoff, ladies and gentlemen. Without the 12-team playoff, we do not get what we just got. We do not get a 10 seed and a 6 seed in a battle for a spot in the national championship game. We don't get that. Because you know why? We only get the top 4 seeds. Neither of them would have been a top 4 seed. But you know what? The 12-team playoff is working. It gives us awesome football games, and it gives us a 10 seed in the national championship game with a chance to play Indiana or Oregon. How about that? Awesome stuff. Let's talk about how Miami won this football game for a chance to play Indiana or Oregon in their own home stadium. Talk about that. That's unbelievable. Home field advantage in a national championship. Can't get better than that, folks. Cannot get better than that. If you don't watch my preview shows, 1, you should. That's why you need to subscribe, get that bell on. 2, I lay out, my keys for each team to win the football game, and then that's gonna be how they'll win the football game. If they do these things, they'll win. If they don't do these things, they'll lose. For Miami, let's get into it. The first thing I said, hey, Trinidad Chambliss, you watched that Georgia game. They got after him, but they didn't get him on the ground. They weren't hitting him after the play. They weren't getting him on the ground during the play. Not a lot of duress that Chambliss felt on the ground. You look at this game, you're thinking, Ian, they only had 1 sack, not a lot of tackles for loss with Chambliss in the running game. I'm not sure this counts as getting him on the ground. They did, ladies and gentlemen. They made him feel the earth early on in this football game. It wasn't sacks, but it was QB hits. It was QB pressures, whether it was on the sideline early on in the first half, where Chambliss just kind of throws the ball away as he's running to the sideline, and they hit him maybe a little bit late, and he's rolling around under the benches there. Or early on in the game, I highlighted it in the preview show. I said, hey, Keondae Scott, he's been their slot corner who does a lot of blitzes for Miami the entire season. Comes out like 3rd play of the game. He's on a slot corner blitz. What do you know? He hits Chambliss. Chambliss is in the dirt, okay? Trinidad was in the dirt the entire game. I believe they made him feel pressure. And I believe it made him, Ole Miss always does quick throws. That's how they negate their okay offensive line. It's good. Not great when you're going up against the defensive line of Miami, but the ability to negate that with quick throws, which is what they do, which is what they did to Georgia, which is what they've done all year long, you can negate a defensive line. You can negate a pass rush. But when you hit him after the play, when you lay on him a little bit longer, make him feel your presence, it speeds him up internally. And there were throws that Chambliss made the entire season that he didn't make in this game. Couple slants, couple over routes across the middle where he was just a little bit off because his timing was a little bit off. He was a little early on those throws, and it's because Miami made him feel the earth early on in this football game. So we're 1 for 1 in the keys for Miami to win this football game. Second key was Mark Fletcher continues the playoff tear that he's been on. Unbelievable. Coming into this game, 36 carries, 262 yards, 7.3 yards per carry average in the playoffs coming into this football game. And you're thinking, what did he do this game, Ian? Well, if you watched, he dominated. He dominated the Ole Miss defense in this game. It was halfback dives. They spammed halfback dive for Mark Fletcher in this football game, and it was awesome. It was awesome. He runs over dudes, 6 yards per carry. Yeah, that'll do. 133 yards. I'm going to say the playoff tear continues. You have 395 yards in 3 playoff games. That'll do for a running back, ladies and gentlemen. That will do. So you're 2 for 2 for Miami in winning the football game. You do 2 of the 3 things. Normally you win the football game. Did they do the third? The third key for me was let Carson Beck manage the game. He doesn't need to be taking deep shots. That's not how you need to beat Ole Miss, okay? Your offense, your defense, they're good enough to beat Ole Miss with what you do. Get it to your playmakers. Get it to Malachi Tony. Get it to Keelan Merritt. Get it to C.J. Daniels, okay? And you know what? That's exactly what they did. They took the occasional shot, and you know what? Carson Beck missed them. He missed them because he doesn't need to be doing that when you have those three studs there at wide receiver, and you have Mark Fletcher who can just run the rock down people's throats. You don't need to be taking deep shots. Let Carson Beck manage the game because one, it gets the ball to playmakers, and Ole Miss can't tackle. They missed a bazillion tackles in this football game. I wrote down in my notes during the football game. It was about 10 minutes left in the third quarter. I wrote down Miami needs to spam screens and spam halfback dive. Miami, the rest of the game, spammed screens and spammed halfback dive. You win the football game. Not even 2 minutes later, they do a screen and they get 15, 16 yards. And then when they go to take the lead, when they were down 17-21 or whatever it was, 17-19, screen to Malachi Tony gives you the lead 24-19. Again, it's obvious when you're playing Ole Miss. Screen them to death. That's what you need to do if you're Miami. That's what you need to do in the national championship game. Those are your strengths. Halfback dive, screen. Get it to your playmakers. And in this game specifically, doing that would take time off the clock. I believe Miami is the only team in college football playoff history in a semifinal game to have, I think they had 4 drives of 13 plus plays in this football game. They milked the clock this entire game, ladies and gentlemen. Time of possession, 42-18. I said it. A key to letting Carson Beck be a game manager, it's gonna keep Chambliss off the field. That is gonna be a key for you folks. And you know what? 42 minutes to 18 minutes. That will be 3 for 3 on the keys for Miami to make it to the national championship game. And they do it, and they win the game in an instant classic. Unbelievable stuff. I cannot wait. Folks, I'm kind of cheering for Indiana tomorrow night because my midseason national championship game was Indiana, was Miami. You know what? Not everybody can be right. Do not look at the rest of the bracket, but let's talk about Ole Miss real quick, and then we will get off of this so I can go to sleep. The keys for Ole Miss in this game, Trinidad Chambliss, number 1, he needed to be historic. Those were the words I used. He needed to be historic. He was good in this football game. He was not bad. But again, he missed throws that he normally makes. He was a little sped up in this football game. He was not historic. So you're 0 for 1 for Ole Miss. Number 2 was Keywan Lacey needed to be special. He was good. He was injured after his big, long 75-yard touchdown. He averaged 10 yards per carry because of that 75-yarder. So I still think I would say he was probably special in this football game had he not gotten injured. Maybe would have changed the outcome of this game. I wish we could get it without his injury for that first half. But for the purpose of this, I'm going to say he was not special in this football game for the most part, other than the one long run, which the safeties were out of alignment there for Miami on that play. Other than the one long run, he had 9 carries for 30 yards. Not great, not what you're looking for. That's right what Miami's defense averages per carry for the defensive side of things. So you're 0 for 2 for Ole Miss in your keys to win this football game in my mind. And number 3 was the defense needed to force 2 turnovers. They needed 2. They got 1. If they had 1 more, maybe on the last drive of the game where Carson Beck converted 3 third downs, which was unbelievable. 3rd and 10, 3rd and 6, just big-time plays from Carson Beck down the stretch, and he made them. He made the plays that Ole Miss wasn't able to make down the stretch, and I hate it for Ole Miss because I was cheering for him. I wanted Pete Golding to win a national championship with only 4 games as a head coach. It would have been unbelievable to stick it to Lane Kiffin like that, but it didn't happen. And we get Miami, we get maybe Indiana, we get maybe my midseason national championship picks, and I would be thrilled with that. I would be thrilled with that because the preseason national championship picks did not work out. So you get the redo in the midseason, and we have a chance for it to happen. I'm cheering for Indiana tomorrow night. Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. If you are new here, subscribe down below, and then follow @IanFritts on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram as well. I love you guys. Bye.